Before it became the domain of NASCAR, Phoenix was once popular for open wheelers. Being built right around the era of the 49, it seems fitting that we hold our seasonal oval round here this time. But this mile-long tri-oval is like little else out there. Who will survive the duel in the desert? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 6 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is IMSA driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. This is, of course, the older version of Phoenix, so if you were expecting the modern rendition, let's introduce you to the Legacy edition of the track.
Originally constructed in 1964, Phoenix International Raceway can thank its unique layout to that of necessity, with the now famous dogleg being constructed out of a need to incorporate a nearby drag strip and infield and outfield road course. Originally conceived as the West Coast home for open-wheel racing, the circuit played host to USAC and sports car events before CART held its first race at the track in 1979. NASCAR also held events at the circuit, but it wasn't until 1988 when the Avondale track would play host to the flagship Stock Car Series. Over time, the scales have tipped away from open-wheel cars and more towards NASCAR's favor, but the circuit still remains a favorite for drivers in all series. Although the circuit has gone through many changes throughout the years, the legacy version preserved here on iRacing retains many of the track's defining characteristics. A relatively flat circuit for an oval, a lap around Phoenix begins with a run down the front straightaway before diving into turn 1. While it is possible to go too wide through the corner, caution is advised because of the many bumps on the circuit make it hard to hold a clean line. From there, it's a run into the dogleg. Take it flat out, but watch out for the rumble strips on corner apex. Then it's a run into turn 3, a seemingly never-ending flattened corner. The tires may groan out, but have faith in the car and it will see you return back to the start-finish straightaway. Altogether, the track is narrow. Track blockage is sometimes likely, but don't let that discourage you. Phoenix is a tricky circuit to master, but especially in its legacy format, it is an absolute treat to get right.
Well, this is going to be fun because honestly, when it comes to ovals, I love to see a little bit of idiosyncrasies out there, Joey, and we've got that today.
Yeah, and it is the legacy version, like you mentioned, so I'll be able to call the turn names correctly out here today, and we do have the 9 to 11 degrees of banking throughout the track here, and I think the most important thing to note here at Phoenix is that dog leg. Be interesting to see how many competitors take advantage of trying to cut as much of that as you can. Now, I understand it is the legacy, so you don't have the big paved section, but can still bounce over that curb and potentially upset these cars. But I think what I'm looking forward to most is turns 3 and 4, the different lines that can be taken there, and kind of the run that you get to the old start-finish line here, Joe.
Indeed, and the very narrow start-finish line where we often see drivers get piled up if we do have a wreck. And without yellows today, that's going to be a bit of a talking point, trying to avoid any sort of mess if that comes up. Now, championship has spread apart, actually. Sebastian Tixier came in very close back to Antilepisto last time, but he is now 28 points ahead with his win at Jerez. Now, Togo Hisada is going to be one to watch out for if he is here today. Let me double check to see. Yes, he is. He is known to be very good at the ovals, so he could be a real threat. Ove Trangrade is very close behind him, but needs a little bit more consistency. He's been the typical wild man that he is out there on the track and is up and down in his results because of it. And also we have an F2 championship that's, as always, being fought. How's that sitting, Joey?
I think I'm finally up to speed over here, and the F2 championship, Bjorn Ackerman currently leads the way, 6 points over Terry Tromhauser. Kirk Clapper locked in a battle here with Tobias Harnvey. Might as well include Tomas Tuba, Mats Linden, Jonathan Jordan. Look at this. Andrew Eng, Robert Plumley, include them all. Less than 10 points right now separating 4th through 9th. F2 standings really packed closely.
As for the Nations Cup, up at the top of that, it is Singapore, as you'd expect, but Finland is very close behind, given a fight on this one. From there, Spain, Norway, United States, and the United Kingdom are all extremely tight in a battle to try and decide third place. We'll see if that switches around at all. Japan could maybe jump back up, depending on if Togo Hisata can have a little bit better of a latter end of the season here, now that we're going to be moving into the second half. Australia not far behind him. Today's race going to be slightly different. Joey, how's it sit?
Halfway through here, round 6 of 12. 70 laps here at this oval, and it will go by quite quickly. Open setups like always. That means you're going to be tweaking and tuning it to make sure it fits this oval properly. No spare car. Got to be careful of that damage. Standard iRacing drive-through penalty at 17x, disqualification at 25. Joe, that won't become an issue today. It's going to be the walls, the wheels, and the damage potential.
Yeah, absolutely. The speeds are going to be so high, the drivers probably won't be able to get away with just light brushes or bumps against one another or spins. As we've also got a little bit of a celebrity here. Matt Malone is going to try his hand on the oval in the Lotus 49. Again, this is kind of old school open wheel style. Yes, these are Grand Prix cars, so these were built for Formula One, but Colin Chapman did try a bit of oval racing with a version of the Lotus that was a couple years before this machine, but it definitely was slightly different, as he did build it specifically for this. So these guys kind of have to play a little bit of imagination out here, as it looks like Matt's going to put himself, unfortunately, last on the field of those who have qualified. Jim Shedlick, there's a quick name that returns, is up on the provisional pole. And as I expected, Joey, Togo Hisata is behind him by the narrowest of margins.
Yes, he is. He's right there as we watch Matt Malone come out of turn 4 and impact the wall hard. But look at P3, Joe. Bill Tyler. Now, this is a name that we're used to seeing up front, and I feel like he kind of excels at tracks like this, and he's up there again.
Yeah, you're right. He's come in to try and see if he can take another victory to his name in this series. And as he did last time at Charlotte, maybe this could offer him up a great chance. As you can see how loose some of these cars get. Now, you see him wheeling it into the pits, but they will not have scheduled pit stops in this race. And as I mentioned, there are no yellows, full course yellows, rather. It is just going to be down to trying to survive some of the chaos that we're going to see out there. It's also a very hot track. We'll get to that in a moment, as it is Jim Shedlick who is starting on the front row, with Togo Hisata starting in second. Bill Tyler will be P3, and Shinsuke Tashima will be 4th. John Olsen starts in the 5th position. Jonathan Jordan in P6. Then it's Xavier Sanchez in 7th. Ove Trangre, good enough for 8th. Sebastian Tixier, not as strong on the ovals, but he will start in the top 10 and 9th. And then that 10th position will be Jorge Nieva.
Here in 11th, we have Maximilian Santa-Muller. In 12th, we have Jeff Saunders. 13th, Laust Olsen, followed up with Yuri Giesen here in 14th. Robert Plumley rounding out the top 15. Nicholas Morelli. Robert Reynolds in 17th. Jack David Spickett, 18th. Andrew Dixon here in 19th, and Will Lamb, 20th position.
21st is Javier Mosquera. Neil Kemp will start 22nd, followed by Takuma Ito in 23rd. Then it's Kurt Clapper, P24. Matt Malone, as I mentioned, the last one to set a time, in 25th. Jason Clapper and David Rodriguez round out your field here today. So, as they do on ovals, it is going to be a rolling start, so don't have to worry about that. As look at the track temperature. It's in the desert, although the air temps are maybe cooler than you typically expect here, even in April, but 114 Fahrenheit, Joey. I'm sure those tires are going to be a little bit tricky to manage.
They're going to be good for a couple corners, and then they are going to be screaming for their life out there. And let me tell you, as a team manager, that's when the driver starts keying up that mic, and he doesn't stop complaining. And Joe, it's the middle of the day. It's going to do nothing but get warmer.
Absolutely. Just past noon here, and drivers are not going to have any relief. I can see a few clouds up in the sky. We'll see if they actually cross over and cool us off a little bit. But I'm getting word behind the scenes that Sebastian Tixier's qualifying time might not represent what he's been able to do earlier this week. So maybe he'll have to try and move forward. But without the cautions here, that mid-pack, I mean, I got to think that is not the place you want to be.
I agree. It's going to be very hectic, and if there's any problems in the front third of the field, it's going to be damage control, and I feel like the track position you're going to lose just from avoidance might just kind of take you out of the potential of a podium.
All right. Well, I said it. We'll see if we get any cloud cover, and there you go, right away. Trying to cool it down just a little bit on the backstretch, but not on the front stretch, apparently, as they come through 3 and 4. You'll see that pace car peel off, and then we will be on our way. There it goes, off into pit lane. Shedlick has control of the field, and he's on it very early. Green flag is out, and as they accelerate across, some of them off the back of the field, very slow. Did I see somebody even maybe brush the wall there down the front stretch? I'm not entirely sure. And we stream through 1 and 2. So far, so good. I'm not seeing any major incidents.
No cars turned around yet, Joe, and I think there might have been one car that got up close to the wall right there on the start finish, and now we've got our first car round. I believe that's going to be Nicholas Morelli there on turn 3 and 4.
And it looks like Jack David Spickett collected the wall. He takes it into pit lane. He needs repairs because it is crabbing badly. As up at the front, Shedlick is using this clean air to great effect. He's already nearly a second ahead of Togo Hisada, with Bill Tyler hot on their heels.
Look at the jump that Shedlick has really been able to do here in just the first lap and a half, coming around to complete lap number 2, and Jim Shedlick firmly in control.
I'm sure that track position is going to be very important out there today. Hisada now taking the fastest lap of the race that time by as we come back onto the backstretch through the dog leg once again as they weave their way out. Look at how close they have to get to that outside wall coming out of the dog leg to set up for 3 and 4.
It's a totally different racetrack than what we're used to watching currently on TV. Used to see them, dive down through that dog leg, and here you got the grass, and you're right, it's definitely a serious corner with these cars.
They head through one once again, looking a little bit farther back here at some of the battles in the mid-pack as we've got Laust Olsen still in a nice fight. This is for 12th position. Jorge Nieva to his outside, drifts up a little bit, and that makes him have to lift to try and get out of it. You really do not want to tangle wheels at this track. It's basically race over if you do that.
And you see how close they have to race out here, and Yuri Giesen, actually just a couple cars right up in front, has got by Laust Olsen and Jorge Nieva right in front of Laust here, but we ride along board with the number 21 cars. He dives it down into turn number 3. These are the multiple options I was talking about through turns 3 and 4, and oh, so close here between Nieva and Olsen.
And probably antithetical to what you typically think. He's got the inside line, but he can't make the pass because that outside has the momentum, and he keeps getting pinched down. Great job by Nieva to really fend him off in this way. He's not buckling under the pressure.
I saw Laust dipping down onto the apron a little bit, and I wonder if he's tried that out in practice to kind of help turn the cars, but I would feel that you'd probably want to stay up on the banking a little bit more than what he was. I think he was just giving some extra room to Jorge.
Exactly. I think you're right on that one. He tries a little bit of a higher line, cuts down off of it to square off the corner. No downforce on these cars. It's all about getting that traction. So these different lines could actually work out behind him. We can't quite see it, but he does have Jeff Saunders that's kind of poking and prodding on him as well. And then they've got a whole train of cars back behind them. So this is basically stacking up a bit behind Nieva.
Yeah, and you're right. I didn't even notice how long this train of cars was, but right here at the front, it's Nieva, kind of the cork in the bottle right now. However, they're all running similar pace. I wonder if he's really holding him up too much, or if just kind of this is the pace of this train of cars right now.
The good news is we've only lost Jack David Spickett so far in pit lane.
That was Laust Olsen. I'm sorry, Joe. Laust Olsen rubbed the wall there coming out of turn 4 we were watching.
Yeah, it's so easy. That exit comes up on you quick. Just something about the banking, the way it drops off, seems to send cars into there and get them loose. As we take a look at Sebastian Tixier now. His qualifying, we thought, maybe didn't represent the pace that he could run, but he's still stuck in 9th where he started. That is the car Xavier Sanchez just in front of him. Has not been able to make inroads on trying to move forward thus far.
Now, I love what's going on here. Because not only do we have multiple things going on with this stream, but I'm loving the Daytona USA down in the corner. That's a throwback for me. That brings a smile to my face.
Okay, the thing about the Pepe, I believe that wheel is synced up to his wheel. Look at it. I think
that is great. And it's the actual wheel as well.
Oh, that's amazing. I can't believe this. Great job, Seb. He did tell me he's going to have something special for this, and I love it, Seb. This is fantastic. So he's in full Americana mode as he comes back onto the front stretch now to start lap 12 of this race. Still a long ways to go. And I wonder at what point will they start to catch lap traffic. In fact, they're coming up to Robert Reynolds, who's going very slow. He must have had some sort of issue.
Ooh, and Joe, you see how hard he's got the wheel cranked. Definitely got suspension problems with that car. And look, I believe I see a lot of front end damage on that thing.
Yeah, so he made side-to-side contact with somebody and then he ran into Jorge Nieva. Nieva had an issue.
Oh, no.
And really plowed into him. Nieva just went a little wide, it looks like, and wound up in the wall. And from there, there he goes up into the side and then gets into the 15. I tell you what, it's a bit of a shame, and I wish we had covered it more, but back row Bob was not on the back row. He was halfway up the field and in top split. So I guess lesson learned, back row Bob's a bit more of a savant when it comes to oval racing.
Yeah, have to keep an eye on that. And speaking of, so Joe, this is my first Lotus 49 oval race, so I'm just kind of getting the ropes over here. These cars don't make a lot of downforce. Is this usual to see the trains in the tough passing?
On most ovals, no, but they tend to go to some of the bigger ovals. This is one of the smaller ones they've been to, so I think it is proving difficult to try and get the overtakes done. Usually the slipstreams on this car is actually surprisingly powerful, and they're able to get runs on each other, but not today.
Well, that makes sense with what we're seeing because there is very little straightaway time here at Phoenix, and you see how much the competitors are really having to play with the throttle, not be able to plant it, because the cars definitely look loose, which means they're trying to get them turned.
So now it's not just Jack David Spickett that's out. Robert Reynolds taking repairs. Jorge Nieva is as well. 23 cars still out on the track. And back to the point I was trying to make before, with this many cars and only a mile oval, lap traffic is probably going to become an issue later on. And that might offer up the opportunities that we were talking about there if drivers are not really compliant about getting out of the way of the leaders.
Agreed. And I think Jim Shedlick doesn't really have to worry about it too much because he has pieced out in front of this field. But you're watching the battle for really what is ultimately second place at the front of this. Togo Hisada, Bill Tyler, John Olsen, Tashima, Jonathan Jordan, and you could probably throw Ove Trengrade in here. This is a 5-car train for second place.
It is indeed. Now, Tashima, I believe we've seen before, and I think Takuma Ito as well. But I kind of wonder if Togo's kind of bringing some friends out that only seem to show up. I think the last time we saw them was at our last oval, which was, I believe, the Charlotte Oval last time out. So it seems like maybe some friends are along for the ride. And in the case of Tashima, doing pretty well. Ito, unfortunately, is down in 22nd, not quite as high up. We're seeing Olsen go a little bit high. John just drifting up out of turn 1, and Tashima's trying to give a shot at it, but can't quite get underneath.
Really deep there into turn 3 for Tashima. He's going to try to work the outside line. It's going to open up the bottom for Jonathan Jordan right there in this bright pink purple number 4. And you see Jonathan still trying to work the inside line. And I got to say, great respect given from Tashima, leaving a whole lane here for a competitor.
Yeah, I do like what I've been seeing. I think that obviously this is not the only race that they have all week. I suspect a lot of these drivers have had experience now and understand the give and take that comes with oval racing. And like I said, they traditionally do this once a season in this league. Well, this series. So there are a few that have kind of figured out the ropes of how this racing works. That's a big bobble, though, from Tashima coming off of turn 1. Doesn't seem like it's enough for Jordan to get by.
Not quite a big enough bobble, but, I mean, working lap 21 of 70 here, Joe. It's going to be interesting to see the rear tire life once we get up here, maybe lap 50, lap 60, when they're really starting to hang on to it.
Well, it looks like Nieva tried to come back out on track, but the car not good enough, so he's back in pit lane to take some repairs for a second time. Reynolds hasn't been able to return quite yet. Still only see those 3 down visiting their pits. Now with, we got a battle between Laust Olsen, and that is Jeff Saunders. No, Yuri Giesen, excuse me, in the number 14 that he was fighting with. I think he was ahead of him before, so he's on the attack trying to overtake this car and hasn't been able to make it past yet as they head down into 1.
Now, earlier in this race, in the first handful, Yuri Giesen got by Laust Olsen, and now it certainly seems like kind of tides have turned the other way. Laust with a good amount of speed right now.
Gets it down to the inside, but he's tried this before. Being pinched to the bottom seems to be very difficult off of 4. Doesn't quite have the overlap. He's starting to approach down into turn 1. Gets to the inside once again. Can't slide up in front of him. Could we see potential slide job later on if somebody's desperate to try and get the move done? He's going to carry it on as they continue to race side by side. Looks like some of these passes might take multiple laps.
And here we go, Laust Olsen not going down to the apron like we saw him do earlier in the race. But, Joe, you commented on it. That lower lane, it just really pinches you off of the corner. It's tough to get the top-end speed that you need to complete the pass, which always happens down the straightaway. It's key to get the corner exit proper.
And now he backs out of it. So Olsen giving up the ghost, at least for now. Maybe going to try again later. Good run, and then he lifts a little early. Not willing to risk it into there. We've got an interesting development in regards to setup, though, that we're starting to notice out on track. We've mentioned Jim Shedlick running away, but apparently part of that is the gearing on these cars. He's got 3 seconds. If we could ride on board, all the other drivers are shifting down in some of the corners. These cars are not built for ovals, but I guess Jim has tweaked the gearing enough that he is able to hold it in 1 gear all the way around.
Tricky, but hey, you know what? Practice time counts, and obviously Jim found an advantage. He applied it, and look at how smooth he is right now. Really neutral steering coming up out of turn number 2. Jim Shedlick has got this thing hooked up.
And we need a replay on Tashima in the number 8. He just had a huge moment and saved it, but Ove Trangerade had to take evasive action and maybe made a little bit of a touch. So just that was on his own. Nobody touched Sunsuke. But watch Trangerade in the orange car behind him here. Heading right for him. Makes evasive action. Now, usually you can't really do that in these cars and get away with it. Actually makes a little bit of contact. Does he stay out of the wall? He does. I can't believe he managed that.
An amazing save, but unfortunately you saw maybe a little bit of netcode contact, a ghost contact. Tashima got left rear damage. He's in pit lane right now.
Oh, he was having such a good race before then, too. A top 5 potentially for him. But down he goes, and he'll have to spend some time getting it worked on. So hopefully we'll see him back out before this race is over. There's still time as we now watch Bill Tyler versus Togo Hisada. And these two fighting for second place. And also, no, excuse me, this is John Olsen versus Bill Tyler, rather, that we are watching. This is for third that they are battling for. And Jordan is behind him. Now, I'm also getting word that Jordan might be in a single gear all the way around himself.
You know what? I'm seeing that too. Little birdie is spreading around information around the racetrack right now, maybe trying to help some people out, go steal away a win. And Jordan, one of these competitors, only using the one gear. Let's listen to it, Joe.
Yeah, didn't shift up coming out of turn one. And then down into 3 and 4, same deal.
And you can see it there on the tack. There's no change in the gear shift in the RPM. They're just holding that one gear. And you look at Jonathan Jordan's pace right now, actually one of the faster cars on the racetrack.
So could he maybe push ahead and overtake these guys? It's interesting that it's working well for Shedlick, but Jordan doing the same thing, still kind of mired in 5th, although he is up one spot from where he started. Honestly, our biggest mover right now is Jason Clapper. He's up 13, but that's almost a given anymore these days, as long as he doesn't wreck, because he always starts from the back of the field. But there was the pace difference that you saw on the screen between Shedlick and Jordan at this time. So a fast car, but maybe just can't do much with it, as in front of them did Olsen and, oh no, that is Takuma Ito. That's a lapped car they're overtaking.
Well, you called it earlier. They're going to have to deal with the lapped cars, but you're right. He is catching John Olsen and Bill Tyler. We saw that lap comparison just a couple moments ago, but the number 4 car, let's see what he's got this time by start finish. Yeah, once again, drawing into those drivers right in front of him.
So we exit out of there. Laust Olsen going to go side by side with Yuri Giesen once again for the 9th place. And despite being on the bottom, it seems like the high line is the place to defend from. At least it's helped Yuri up to this stage. Behind them, they do have Jeff Saunders kind of watching, trying to figure out which way he needs to throw his hat in the ring. And as they exit out of 4 onto the front stretch, that's a much better exit for Olsen. He's going to be farther alongside that pink machine. He's going to dive it down into turn 1, but maybe a little too shallow. Very high for Yuri. He's all the way up to the outside, and still he holds on.
Let's see what kind of run it gives him down into turn 3. Not as much as what I was thinking. Really locked neck and neck here into turn number 3. There goes Laust Olsen, a little bit more entry speed. Yuri Giesen trying to come with an over-under down the front straightaway now.
He gets a run, and he's going to look down to the inside, but Olsen shuts the door. That took a lot of laps to make happen, but Laust finally got it done. Can he set off after Sebastian Tixier? He's going to make up 5.5 seconds. And in oval terms, 5.5 seconds is eons away.
It really is. You know, put it into reference, they're doing 28-second laps. So, yeah, that's a huge amount of track position to try to make up. And there is Sebastian Tixier about 5.5 seconds up the road. Can't even see Laust Olsen behind him.
So if Jim Shedlick does take the win here today, he's going to be our 5th different winner of the season in 6 rounds. So incredible variety. We're seeing another revival of this championship like we had a couple seasons ago, where I believe we set the record at 8 or 9 different winners over the course of the season. And it's kind of moving towards that way. Matt Malone up 7, didn't get a good qualifying, but he's making up for it. And right now he's having to fend off Javier Mascara, who we know had some issues earlier on.
Yeah, and you were talking about big movers. Matt Malone here in the number 27, definitely one of them right now. Although you mentioned it, the number 7 car, Mascara, very, very fast behind him. However, I got to give props to Matt here. He's holding his own on the racetrack. He's doing a great job. I'm looking at the lap times, very competitive with the cars around him.
Absolutely. And honestly, this is a car that is very specific, as he sends it in a little deep, I think, into turn 1, but he manages it well. So anytime we get these popular streamers coming in, we always hope that they stick around, because this is a fun car, but there is nothing else like it on the service.
No, there really isn't, but check this out. Matt's actually going to get a really good run here. He's trying to chase down Neil Kemp right in front of him. This is all a battle. If Matt comes up and gets this, he could walk away with the top 15 in a top split today.
Now, behind him, Mosquera, I just realized that he has a Duracell battery livery, which works perfect with this car. It looks like a AA battery just because it's a tube. So credit to Mosquera on that one. That is definitely one of the more creative paint jobs I've seen on this car over the years.
Personally, Joe, I love it. I love the creativity that comes out here in iRacing. You know, with the, what is it, the Formula Vs, you get a lot of the Crayola crayons. You get a lot of Lego helmets. You know, this Duracell one, very good on this car. That
is excellent. That's a great one. So I'll put that one down on my list of favorites. Is once again very up high there from Matt Malone, but he cuts back down. Might actually work out decently for him. It leaves him vulnerable on entry, but look at it shoot off the corner.
That's what you got to do here at Phoenix when everybody's kind of running the same line. You got to change it up just that little bit, and usually a high entry. Ooh, good catch off of turn number 2 for Matt Malone, but a high entry can provide you a later apex. Let's see if he does it here once again here in turn 3. Starting out really high, he's going to capitalize by cutting it down here in turn 4.
Look at that, though, ahead of them side by side between Neil Kemp and Andrew Dixon. That is a battle for position, and it looks like Dixon might have it. He's got the high side. He was a little bit farther ahead, but Kemp fights back. He gets underneath him, drifts up a little bit, leaves him a lane, and here comes Matt Malone. Says, you guys can fight all you want. I'm going to take advantage of this.
He almost gets into the back of Neil Kemp there as he's trying to get down on the racetrack underneath. I'm sorry, that's Andrew Dixon now as he is able to get underneath turns 3 and 4. Now it's a drag race down to turns 1 and 2. Matt Malone late on the brakes here into turn number 1. Looks like he might be able to get this one done.
And that was Yuri Giesen, who was backwards and did the right thing. He waited patiently to get an opening, and he's able to turn the car around. He was in a side-by-side fight with Lars Stolsen, and sadly, he lost out as they tangled wheels and spun around.
Oh, and he's battling here in the apex. Look at the difference in speed, and Matt Malone showing excellent sportsmanship, leaving a whole lane up top for Andrew Dixon, but promote that number 27 into the top 15.
And another position gone for Dixon. Seems like momentum very key here because Mosquera pounced immediately, but up and over. Dixon going to try and fight back. Just can't seem to send it in to turn 3 fast enough. So he'll fall back, and that moves him into 17th, unfortunately. I think we had a change for 6 between Trangarine and Sanchez just now, but we're going to take a look at a replay of what happened to Yuri. Is he gonna try for the inside here? He found a good exit off of 3, and so they maybe didn't tangle wheels. He just came in a little hot, and the tiniest little touch at the end sent him the rest of the way of the round.
I mean, talk about as close as you can be on 3 separate possible incidents there for Yuri Giesen, and then like you mentioned, stayed out of the way of potential racing coming up. Tough to kind of swallow that pill.
Yeah, real unfortunate. He was having such a great day before that. That's going to send him down to 20th, now a lap down. The battle that we were watching between Malone and Dixon and Mosquera, Shedlick's actually catching them pretty quickly. So we might be down to about half the field being lapped pretty soon.
Here's 7th place. Xavier Sanchez coming out of turn number 4. Right in front of him is kind of this train of cars. We mentioned it was kind of 2nd through 7th earlier. Well, still kind of that same story. Although Toga Hasada has kind of run away a little bit. It's more Bill Tyler that's under pressure from John Olsen, and it goes all the way back here to the number 5 of Xavier Sanchez.
Absolutely, yeah. Hasada's found himself enough of a gap. They're being led by Yuri now in that number 14. That he's been lapped. So both Bill Tyler and John Olsen probably wanting to get by, but I don't know how badly they're being held up or if they're willing to stay patient at this stage. We're down to 20 laps to go. There was a bit of a moment for Xavier coming off of turn 1. You got to wonder, again, open setup in this series, how many drivers are starting to feel the effects of their choices late on, because you could potentially set them up to where the tires start to give way by the end of the race.
Joe, it's like you just set something off in my brain. Did you just say tires?
Yes.
Tires.
Yes, your favorite topic.
Well, no, I mentioned how much these cars were sliding around. I think it was about lap 20 or so, but here we are in really the last third of the race, and you're right, the driver's really struggling with it. And I would say with an outdoorsman outfit, such as what we're watching right here, it's got to be hot inside this race car.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Although, obviously, open cockpit, so I'm sure they're getting plenty of air. Thankfully, in virtual racing, you don't have to worry about any of that unless you are racing physically in a hot area. And who was that just ahead? Was that Trangrade brushing the wall?
I think it might have been just kind of out of turn number 2 there. Very close call. And Ove Trangrade here in 6th place, I think might have just squeaked away with one.
Absolutely. We're going to watch the replay. So here's the onboard with Ove. Just gets the right-hand side. Here we go. Just a little hot, maybe off the corner. Does he get loose? No, he got loose. He chases it up the hill and barely brushes it.
You know what that reminds me of is street circuits, and I know somebody's ears are burning behind the scenes, but when those wheels contact those walls, it gives that flash of the magnesium hit. I'm sure it would have given a nice little spark right there.
Indeed. It certainly gave up a lot of smoke as it went across it. Back to John Olsen. Now on the attack with Bill Tyler in front of him. That's Nicholas Morelli, who's a lapped car. Can he become a bit of a pick? Giesen also. So 2 lapped cars directly in front of them. And they are fighting for position, so that adds extra complication.
Tough. It gets busy here on the oval, and we saw how narrow the racetrack can be to make these passes, and we're seeing it right here. And really, Joe, this is kind of a battle for what is the final podium spot with Bill Tyler in the number 20 kind of at the front of this.
Indeed. Hisada and Shedlick have kind of run away. They're looking pretty solid at this point, so the last battle up at the top spots seems to be down to this. As they come off of turn 4, look at how quickly they slide up to the exit. It approaches you in a hurry, but thankfully nobody touched it that time around as they start on lap 56 now out of 70.
I'm trying to think of the best way I can explain driving on overheated tires, because that's exactly what we're seeing. 116 is the track temperature out there. They are screaming for new tires, and I think the best way is maybe like some overheated gummy bears, and it just kind of very gooey underneath you, because not only do they not have the grip, but you actually feel them moving around with the sidewall as well.
Yeah, and they finally are able to get past the lap traffic. They saw the battle behind them. At least Morelli gets out of the way. Giesen's still in front. He still seems to have pretty good pace and doesn't seem all that concerned. Now, the blue flags in iRacing are informational only, so they are not required to leap out of the way. They just basically have to run their own line and are usually encouraged not to block. Now, there's no specific rule against it, although I'm sure you won't make very many friends if you start to attempt to do that. But as we come down into 3, they're getting ever closer to that pink machine. At some point, he's probably going to have to consider where he wants to position himself to get out of the way.
Jonathan Jordan just had to lift coming up out of turn number 4. And there you go. There's Yuri Giesen going to the top of the racetrack. Let's see if he lifts completely out of the throttle here. I think he's going to stay up there. I think this is the right thing to do here with 12 laps to go.
Yep, I think that's the sportsman-like thing to do. Also, the other pink car, that's Jordan.
Wow.
Make this a 3-car fight now for the last step on the podium. And, oh, my goodness, some of them are really sliding high off the corner. 3 wide down into turn 1. That's Ove Trangrade between Sanchez and Giesen. That's the fight for 6th position. Trangrade on the high side. Can he finish it up down low? Sanchez not giving up the ghost as he sends it deep down into 3 and 4, and it carries on.
And we've seen the top side really prevail coming off of turn number 4. Although Xavier Sanchez with an excellent run, they stay side by side. I think Xavier's going to slide it on up here in turn 1, take away this position. But just as I say that, Ove's trying to do his best on the outside.
He gets a very good run. Look at this, coming off the corner, but his momentum is halted. Nothing he can do. Sanchez up to 6 with that move. Saw a little bit of a poke from John Olsen on Bill Tyler down into 3 and 4 as well, but looks like he can't quite get up to them. Love this, all this battling that we've got here in the top of the field. And oh, that is Yuri up into the wall, and that's going to be his race finally fully over.
Yeah, Yuri already with the problems earlier, and here's Andrew Dixon as well, and I believe
Malone.
That was Matt Malone. Oh no, he was doing so well. I think I saw him up in the wall off of turn 2.
He was side by side with Dixon, and I think he maybe was just a little too ambitious and wound up in the marbles, and from there's just not enough grip, especially this late in the race.
But hey, you know what? Props to him. He came off of the wall, had a huge twitch. There was a car behind him, but he noticed him, stayed off of the racing line.
He's still running. He's a lap down now, but he's in 18th position. So Malone's not giving up yet. Again, this is top split, so this is among the top runners. Granted, the split is a little bit different in this race, considering it's by your oval iRating. So those that we see here, those that have done some oval racing and bumped up that stat a little bit.
And here is that pink car again, Jonathan Jordan. Now, Joe, remember, this was one of the cars that we mentioned that was running the entire track in a single gear, and I do think that he has more pace than the 2 cars right in front of him. However, I think with the tire wear, we're seeing him struggle with his line through turn 3 and 4, really struggling with the car now.
Yeah, and I have heard from our source that Shedlick is driving the car pretty sideways off some of the corners. So I wonder if Jordan, maybe his setup not able to deal with that quite as well. Maybe that's why it's hard for him. But look at this. He's going to try it on the high side. He goes way up to the wall, and he has to lift big time. Now he's going to be vulnerable to Sanchez, who approaches but doesn't have enough of a straightaway.
And that was what I was talking about. The last handful of laps, he's almost made contact with the wall off at turn number 4. It's like he's just trying to get on the gas, and the car isn't turning. It's not holding the front end like it used to, but lapped car just condensed this battle. Look at this, Joe. All 5 cars now for position.
Oh, this is what we want to see. We are down to 4 laps to go. Tyler, commendable effort here. He is not buckled yet. Olsen has been trying. He's been showing his nose, but just can't seem to find his way around. Jonathan Jordan behind him as well, seeing what he can do and if he can try and find a spot despite an ill-handling car way up high. Can he cut back down a little bit better this time? Not quite. And again, off the corner, just can't seem to hold it.
Yeah, and I'm watching just this number 4 car is killer on corner entry and apex speed, and then just on the last half of the turn, it just doesn't seem like the car wants to turn on him, and just kills all of his momentum.
Also, no surprises here. I was checking to see the clubs that our drivers hail from. 3 of the top 5 are all American. So this American style of racing seeming to cater a little bit more towards My Nation's Cup right now, as we now come to 2 laps to go.
Yeah, time is dwindling. Who's going to make the move? Who's going to end up on the podium here? Right now, it's Bill Tyler to decide that.
White flag is already out for Jim Shedlick as he crosses the line. Last lap for the number 1. He's got a 7-second lead, absolutely dominating this one. How will this battle for third go with only one more circuit around? Up in front of them, though, this man in the number 1 with the highest iRating of the group on the oval side is going to prove it with a dominant win here at Phoenix's first of the season.
And here comes the battle for third place. Togo Hisada is going to claim second, and it looks like it's going to stay the same way. Bill Tyler going to finish third. John Olsen, Jonathan Jordan in the top 5.
His first podium this season for Bill Tyler. Nicely done out here, taking advantage of the oval round of this race. Only 11 cars they're going to wind up on the lead lap without any full course cautions here. So it's over quickly. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Phoenix International Raceway. Our oval round here for round 6 of the Grand Prix Legends Series has finished with Jim Shedlick finishing with a monster gap of 7.2 seconds. He averaged more than a tenth of a second quicker every lap to finish ahead of Togo Husada there. Bill Tyler withstood immense pressure to take a third today, and John Olsen was behind him in fourth. Jonathan Jordan, P5, as Xavier Sanchez with a great battle there to take 6 over Ove Trangrade in P7. Sebastian Tixier apparently could not live up to the speed from earlier in the week, as he only finished 8th, up 1 from where he started. But that is just eclipsed by Jason Clapper, who did not qualify, started 26th, and finished 9th today. He was about 22 seconds behind the leader, so almost got lapped, but wonder what would have happened if he did qualify. Laus Stolson was the last of the top 10 there, starting from 13th.
Here in 11th, we have Jeff Saunders, and in 12th, we have Will Lamb. That's a name that we didn't mention much today, but up 8 positions for Will. Good race. Robert Plumley, 13th. Neil Kemp also up 8 into 14th. Javier Mascara there, 15th. Andrew Dixon, 16th place. David Rodriguez, another one, up 10 positions for that number 11. Then you see here, all of these cars are that one lap down. Nicholas Morelli, Matt Malone, who we highlighted earlier, and Kurt Clapper in 20th.
21st, unfortunately, gets into some of our retirements. Ito did get back out on the track. He was 2 laps down by the end. Geeson didn't make it. Robert Reynolds, I believe, had a second visit. Well, I think maybe 4 or 5 visits into pit lane here today, eventually retiring the car, but did put in quite a few laps after his initial incident. Tashima, Nieva, Spickett, and Mueller did not finish this race, but Jim Shedlick sure finished it. He finished it very quickly, taking the win today in that number 1 machine. Jim, an average of 1/10 of a second quicker than everybody else out there. We heard you not changing gears. Were there any other secrets that you found that helped give you that speed today? Oh, we might have to get Jim mic'd up here. It looks like you're muted, Jim. If you can unmute yourself.
All right.
There we go.
Cool.
Now we got you.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't think there's anything special. I tried a couple different setup tweaks and different things to see if I could find speed, and didn't really find a whole lot of special sauce. But so I really leaned into just what would be the most consistent, and pretty much ran within the same 1/10 of a second bracket for most of the race. And I think not shifting was a little bit of a part of that, just fewer chance for error. And yeah, just a car that could rotate, kind of a good balance of rotating in the center and it's not being too loose off the corner.
Well, it really worked a treat today. Nobody could seem to touch you. Others looked like it was pretty tough to make overtakes. How important was the clear air? I know these aren't downforce cars, but starting on the pole and being able to run away, was that also maybe a part of it?
Definitely important. I'm not sure what would have happened if I had been behind Togo or Bill or John. It would have been interesting for sure. I think passes were possible. Really there was only one driver all race who didn't let me by, and it took a couple corners for me to set it up, which was pretty fun. And I think maybe we could have seen a battle like that if I hadn't had the pole, but I did put some effort into getting the pole and qualifying well, just knowing that passing would be at a premium today.
Well, are we going to see you show up much more this season? Because obviously you did pretty well in the oval round, but we missed you over on the road side.
Yeah, I think after the disappointment of the Nürburgring, I'm glad to come back and get a good result here. So I hope to race 1 or 2 more, and I'll look at the schedule and see what I can make work.
Well, we'd love to have you back. Congratulations on the win, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That was Jim Shedlick, victor today at Phoenix. Behind him, our own Takuma Sato of the Grand Prix Legends. It's Joey talking to Togo Hisata.
Togo, congratulations on the 2nd place here at Phoenix.
Yeah, thank you.
So I noticed earlier in the race, Bill Tyler was right on the back end of your car. Was it just the setup that came to you, or maybe did you find out something that you then pulled away from that number 20 behind you?
Yeah, yeah. I think he's sliding the one lap. Yeah. I didn't remember about the exit of turn 2. Yeah, he's lost a little bit control on the slider away, so yeah, that's why I put it away him. And yeah, actually I used the same set. Bill posted the Discord channel. He made a setup for this week, and they're really really good. So yeah, I'm followed and driving actually the same set, same speed, same turning, so it was his mistake, I think.
Well, and Togo, this is a good points day, and the oval is kind of a rarity here in this series. What do you think about the oval versus the road course? Do you like racing it?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, both are really really good, but the Lotus 49 has a really strong slip slim effect, so yeah, a bit more the Phoenix is good, but the Talladega or Daytona super speedway tracks and ADAS fast tracks, it's gonna be a park racing, so everyone could win, but there's no strategy in those high speed banked ovals. So yeah, but both are really fun. Yeah.
Well, Togo, before I let you go, once again, congratulations on second, and do you want to say hi to anybody?
Yeah. Well, at first, GSRC broadcasting team. Yeah, thanks for the great broadcasting every week, and my family, especially my grandfather. Yeah, that's all.
Well, that was Togo Hisada. Good to see some other Japanese drivers joining him today. Comes home second place at Phoenix.
Yeah, I do love the international flavor that we get in this series. It just brings all types, and that gets to introduce them to oval racing, and hopefully they'll maybe stick around a little bit. But we're not going to stick around for much longer as we wrap up. A big thank you, of course, to the Lotus 49 community, and thanks to the team today, Rob, Joey, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. But don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race is going to be back to road courses at Sebring, Saturday, April 29th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. And be sure to check out our other broadcasts that we have listed here, because up next, it'll be the Camel Series at VIR at 1 p.m. Eastern. However, until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.